loves, welcome back to another episode of Disturbing Reasons to Be Afraid of the Dark. This is the second time I'm filming this video because my phone went a trip. So I'm sorry that it's late. But we're going to jump right into it so my phone doesn't trip so I could get it done for y'all today. So without further ado, let's get started. And also I will be practicing making slime tonight. A slime video will be up by Monday. Everyone's excited. Well, my son is. My husband's like, yeah, I'll just play with it after. I ain't putting my hands in there. But anyway, let's get started. We're going to be reading on the Loyola University, New Orleans. Marquette Hall, Loyola's very own castle and its administration building, has a secret. From 1916 to 1966, its fifth floor was used as a morgue for the university's anatomy majors. But as elevators didn't ascend to the fifth floor, Loyola installed a crane behind Marquette Hall. An external winch was also attached to the fifth floor, so that corpses could be lifted. Students seated in class on the building's lower levels grew accustomed to the high-pitched creaking of the crane. Without even a glance at the window, they knew that the groaning ropes and screaming pulleys meant that a body was being lifted up for dissection. Sometimes, the university's newspaper noted, in 2012, the stretcher would tilt and a bare foot would stick out from underneath the sheet. According to former officers of the university, that external winch can still be found on the fifth floor. While Loyola no longer has a morgue, the haunting cranking of the pulley still echoes through the night. Temperature fluctuations are common in Loyola's most picturesque building, and so are doors flying open and slamming shut by unseen forces. But only ever on the fifth floor. 2 years after the morgue closed its doors, Loyola's dealing with the dead made news because of an exorcism that took place in one of the girls' dorm rooms. A group of female students believed that they had made contact with Satan, and as well as a female spirit named Hazel, whose husband died in prison from a crime she herself committed. The more often the students tried to communicate with the other side, the more intense the paranormal phenomenon became. Objects rearranged themselves on their dorm room shelves. Posters were ripped off the walls by an invisible hand. Furniture slid unpushed across the floor. Most people don't believe that Satan ever visited Loyola. Instead, skeptics counted that the girls simply played a prank. The truth has never been determined. Through the ghostly activity continues to this day, whether it's the haunting sound of the pulley hauling up cadavers or strange sensations within the dorms. That's really creepy. Again, I didn't find a lot of pictures. I found some pictures that could relate to it. I found a picture of the building, but I couldn't find no physical evidence. Like I said, these aren't a lot of people don't know about it. Like, they don't talk about it because these are well-known places and they're not going to advertise as haunted. Some people might not go, but a lot of people do go to New Orleans for its haunted history and everything, so I don't see why it would hurt. But anyway, I digress. Number 4, Jackson Square. Jackson Square is the heart of the French Quarter. It's a place for pinchers, games, and weddings. But during the 18th, early 19th centuries, Jackson Square had a much different name and a much darker reality. It was known as the Place d'Armes, thanks to the army barracks that enclosed it, and was not a slice of heaven, but rather a slice of hell. It was the public execution square. On Sunday church, going folk left mass at St. Louis Cathedral, crossed the dirt path, and entered the place d'Armes. Then they waited for the prisoners to be selected from the old parish prison, which was one tucked in the rear of the Cabildo. I don't know what that means. I think it's between two buildings, like it's in the back in the swamp. I think that's what it means. In the old governing seat. Lesser criminals did their time in the stocks, positioned around the square for the utmost humiliation. Those whose crime were more severe were sentenced to death. Some were beheaded, others were hanged. For Jean Baptiste I cannot talk tonight. I'm gonna start this sentence over. For Jean Baptiste Boudreau de Gravelines II, however, it was a fate worse than death. He died upon a medieval contraption of pure pain, the torture wheel. Born in 1710, Jean Baptiste were early colonists in French Louisiana who repeatedly ran afoul with authorities. But the 1750s, he found himself a prisoner of the French island prison on present-day Cat Island, Mississippi. When a mutiny broke out among the soldiers stationed there in 1757, John Baptiste was charged with participating this despite a signed document from the actual ministers that he played no part in the revolt. On June 7, 1757, Jean Baptiste was brought to Jackson Square and tied to the wheel. The executioner readied his club. Bone by broken bone, Jean Baptiste was bludgeoned to death. He was one of the few individuals ever executed in the Americas in this manner. They say New Orleans was founded on violence, but perhaps it was also founded on the precipitation that misbehaving must be severely punished. As it turned out, not even the priests of St. Louis Cathedral blessed the criminals before they met their final match. They were given no absolution for their sins, no sign they would ever ascend to heaven. With so many heartbreaks, it only makes sense that Jackson Square is one of the most haunted places in the French Quarter. Death, torture. It seems that many of the people executed at the square remain, their spirits left to wander the place of the dead for all eternity. Today, who brave the visit to Jackson Square after dark frequently catch paranormal activity on their cameras. Orbs dancing in the air, eerie mists rising high above the grass, and then almost like an echo of the passage of time, a scream rising above the sounds of jazz, people, and passing traffic. One must wonder to whom the ghostly screams belong. The prisoners forced to relive their final moments of life forever in death, or perhaps the priests themselves who refused to bestow final rites on the criminals and may now be suffering the consequences. And that's it for Haunting New Orleans. There's a lot more, but I didn't get them all because I want to start on another one. But if you would like to hear more about Haunting New Orleans, just let me know. And like I said in my other video, if you want to hear about more Madame Marie Lalaurie, go ahead and comment down below and let me know, and I'll do a whole chapter on her, and I'll do one on the voodoo priestess as well. If you're interested in that, I don't mind doing it. I find it very interesting as well. I just wasn't going to do it at the same time because I already had something lined up after this, and then after this, so I'm not going to do it till, I wasn't going to do it till later. So, but if you want to hear it, just let me know and I'll do it after I'm finished. And don't forget to check out the slime video I'm going to be probably posting by Monday. And the trail video is coming up. And don't forget, my friends, stay scared, Nikki Lou.